What is going on, everybody? It is Ahmed, and I am back today with yet another video for you all. And today, guys, we're going to give more updates on Novo Nordisk because now we got some news coming in about the amount of prescriptions being sold of their new oral Wegovy. Now, remember, as always, never financial advice, just trying to put you guys on the plays that I'm in. If you're new around here, it would mean the world to me if you'd consider smashing the like button down below and also subscribing to the channel. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, year to date, Novo Nordisk stock has been one of our best performing assets on our portfolio. It's up 18.84% year to date, starting off the year strong with the rollout of their new oral Wegovy. There's some really exciting news about their actual numbers behind the prescriptions being sold for their product. Novo Nordisk stock did pull back Friday after reports of its oral Wegovy clocked 18,000 prescriptions in its second week on market. This is per investors.com that absolutely demolished the 8,000 prescriptions that Eli Lilly's injectable weight loss drug Zepbound, which we know is one of the direct competitors of the Wegovy pill, hit in its second week of launch. Evercore ISI analyst Omar Rafat notes that 18,000 number doesn't include online prescriptions through the company's direct-to-consumer website, Novo Care Pharmacy. So what they're telling us right now, physical prescriptions being sold at pharmacies in person as products hit 18,000 in number. Almost triple, but definitely more than 100% upside relative to Eli Lilly's Zepbound. That's some absolute monstrous numbers. While this is an impressive launch, is a headline in and of itself, Rafat said, the exploding growth from the oral Wegovy doesn't appear to be coming at the expense of Novo Nordisk's weight loss shot. Prescriptions of the injectable counterpart grew by 2,000 week over week just so far in January of 2026. And that's one of the things we talked about in a previous video while we were covering Novo Nordisk stock is one of the big things that we're hearing or seeing for the bear case for Novo Nordisk stock is the fact that they do have injectables that are now competing with their own oral regimen, right? There's injectable Wegovy, and we know there's oral Wegovy obviously now. And people were thinking, well, what is going to be the retention rate of the ones that are currently utilizing injectable forms that are manufactured by Novo Nordisk? Comparatively, what are they looking at in terms of the oral utilization of people that are going to be switching therapies? And what we're seeing right now, there's still been significant growth even for their injectable market, which is actually extremely bullish and reassuring for each and every one of us. Novo Nordisk stock ultimately closed roughly flat at 62.22. We know we saw a drop down in the entire stock market, by the way, and that's where we see this little dip. If we look at the 5-day, we saw this dip here from 62.79, which was the intra-week high, all the way down to 58.32 or 57.79, when, of course, Trump imposed those tariffs against the EU, which he has since removed or redacted or pulled off, Why oral Wegovy isn't following ribolysis. So one of the things that people are thinking about in terms of bears suggests that the oral version of Wegovy could struggle, citing issues of the company's oral diabetes drug, Rybelsus. Wegovy and Rybelsus and diabetes treating shot Ozempic all share the same chemical backbone, semaglutide. Semaglutide works by mimicking GLP-1. We've talked about that in great depth in a previous video. Go back in the timeline. You guys can find all of these on my page to improve safety and blood sugar markers, as well as now we know cardiovascular benefits as well. Rybelsus is only 14 milligrams while Wegovy is 25 milligrams in dose. And further, Novo tested its Rybelsus specifically in type 2 diabetics. These patients generally don't lose as much weight on the GLP-1 drugs as patients without diabetes. So again, they kind of go in and talk about oral Wegovy is already approaching half of Rybelsus volume. Rafat said, with Rybelsus generally getting about 50,000 prescriptions in a week. So we're expecting even more than that for the oral form. Novo Nordisk stock recently retook its 200-day moving average because when we go back and even look at 6 months for chart, remember, we were once at $72 back in July of 2025 when the market was really hot for pharmaceuticals. And now if we look at the 1 year, we were actually at $82 and then all-time highs back in Q2 2024 of $141, which I do believe gets reclaimed in 2026 It's not an if, it's about when. And I'm thinking sometime in Q1, we reclaim that value and hopefully new all-time highs as we enter into a parabolic run with Wegovy's successful rollout. Now, this run is just getting started. This is from Seeking Alpha, and I thought this is another thing that I wanted to share with you all because it's quite impactful. And I think it's one that everyone should make sure they're jogging their memory about, and also just keeping it in your back pocket for a piece of knowledge. Then the summary here is, for those of you that can't stick around for the whole video, and again, I appreciate your guys' support. Novo Nordisk AS stock has jumped 30% since previous coverage. Novo's first mover advantage in oral GLP-1 positions it well despite rising competition and price pressures in obesity and diabetic markets. The company's long-term prospects are bright and Novo Nordisk appears undervalued. A lot of people also, again, I read the comments. I've been interacting with a few of you, especially from previous videos, because I get notifications when someone puts a comment. So I appreciate you guys that are looking to have discourse and dialogue. But I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate the market. They're like, well, this is too obvious. First to market, down about 60, 70%. It's too obvious of a trade. The short sellers are going to take advantage of it and wreck the chart. But understand that from a PE, just compared to its competitors like Eli Lilly that has a 53, 52 PE ratio, right now with a $282 billion valuation and a 17 PE, price to earnings ratio, with, of course, a dividend yield of 2.77, compared just to its direct competitors, this makes Novo Nordisk, I think, again, 3 to 5x below its true market value, especially if their revenue can back that with their new revenue that is now going to be generated with the oral Wegovy. So I think right now in Q1 2026, when Q1 earnings are reported in Q2, we're going to expect hopefully a really big squeeze and run up when those are reported. For Q4 revenue reported in Q1 might be actually a sell the news type event, because remember, there was no oral Wegovy in Q4 of 2025. And for those of you that are newer investors, earnings reports are always reported the quarter after they actually were calculated. So geez, make sure you keep that in mind. I know a few of you are veterans in the space, but if you're not, remember when the Q1 or Q4 earnings come out in quarter one, these coming months, make sure you understand that that's not with the oral Wegovy in mind. So Wall Street could take advantage of it by making the stock come down. Then they'll double down on the dip, buy it up, and then you're going to try to get back into a price that you previously had a better dollar cost average against or on. So make sure you don't get fudded or fumble your position because you look at the earnings reports in an incorrect manner. And of course, when they do come out, I'll be hopefully one of the first to report on it on YouTube and maybe even do a live stream on that day. So again, I think things are looking quite remarkable overall for Wegovy. If you look at all the different comparators, and my favorite is looking at Eli Lilly compared to Novo Nordisk because of the fact that they're both in the weight loss drug race. And you can see here, Novo Nordisk from 2022 to 2030, the projections are slowly but surely. Novo Nordisk initially had definitely diabetes and obesity care segment projections, has won in 2022, 2023, 24, 25. Now in 26, it might get very close, but I think Novo actually gaps Eli because of the fact that they have now the oral form already in market ahead of the curve. So again, maybe Eli Lilly takes more of a market share, but the projections by 2030 per everything else, it looks as if Novo Nordisk wins this race. And it's one that's going to continue to expand as the number of diabetics is parabolically increasing, especially in the United States. But if we're looking at it from a global pandemic perspective, metabolic syndrome, obesity, overweightedness, whatever it might be, all these different categories have become a plague in the entire world. So again, let's see what happens over the next couple weeks and even months. We're just hoping that things calm down from a geopolitical risk perspective, because we know right now things are tense, which could potentially cause an unprecedented unprecedented sell-off, which we'll take advantage of and buy the dip. But between now and then, make sure you always have dry powder at times of unease in the market. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys' support. Get ready to double down. When they panic, we will always pounce. And until next time, as always, everybody, keep investing. Peace.